all pain is real, but all pain is made in the brain. There's this client in Brazil, Gabriela, disc herniation, was told she needed surgery. Joins our program, goes from severe low back pain, nerve pain shooting down to her foot, completely pain-free in 4 weeks. All of a sudden, we don't hear anything for 3 or 4 days. Then we get a message. All my pain is back. Something happened. I think I need the surgery after all. Has anything potentially scary recently happened to any friends or family? Breaks down crying. Her best friend died 3 days ago. Within 24 hours after we had the discussion, 100% of her pain gone.
So many people can relate to that and they don't even know it. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Built for Legacy. I'm your host, Chris Nichols. Today, we've got a special guest. I flew out to Tampa to meet with Dr. Grant Elliott. He is a chiropractor with the biggest online back pain program in the world. I was excited to talk to Grant on the show because this was a topic that was very close to home. I dealt with serious back pain in my early 20s, which ended my college athletic career early, and it's something that I've had to deal with for many years after, but have found ways to heal my back pain through following strategies that align with Grant's philosophy. In this conversation, I talk with Grant about what made him so passionate about this topic, to help people get rid of their back pain and his personal experience with it, and how traditional medical care failed him. We talk a bit about what most people get wrong about back pain, how common it actually is, and some actionable strategies that you can put into play to keep a healthy back long-term and do it in a natural way by using movement, instead of considering more extreme options like surgery. Grant shares some fascinating stories he's had with clients, the absolute realness of the emotional and mind-to-body connection. I was very interested in exploring his business. How did he build such a big online business in a space that typically does not go online the way he does? Grant was an absolute pioneer when it comes to chiropractors going 100% online, helping people all over the world and scaling a very successful business with millions of followers across his social media platforms. I felt like this conversation was relevant to the average Built for Legacy listener because this is all about promoting longevity, good health, so that you can perform at a high level much longer in life. Please follow at Built for Legacy Podcast on YouTube and Instagram, at Nichols and Dimes, and follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. This is episode 99 of BFL. Such an awesome conversation. Now please enjoy this episode with Dr. Grant Elliott. Dr. Grant Elliott, how you doing?
Amazing and stoked to be here.
Man, I'm glad we made this work out here in Tampa.
Yeah, it was sweet. Came together last minute, but we got it done.
Yeah, we sure did. Well, man, I'm really excited to talk to you. You've built an incredible brand online, especially, which is not common, I think, for people who are doctors or who are chiropractors, right? I think you stand out in this way, and this is a big thing I'm interested in from an entrepreneurial and marketing standpoint. But before we get into all that stuff, I am very personally connected to this issue. I dealt with serious back problems when I was in my early 20s. I played sports in college. It was building up through high school. And this is a big reason why I wanted to have you on my show, Built for Legacy, because I typically have people on who are entrepreneurs but have a background in sports or in the military. And you're slightly outside of that niche, but I still think very relevant to my audience, because my audience wants to perform at a high level. They want to be healthy, right? And, potentially pursue entrepreneurship, right? So I think you're a good combination of all those things regardless. And I want to ask you, like, when did this journey start for you? What was your personal story with experiencing back pain when you were younger through sports or whatever that got you to make this your life pursuit?
Yeah. Always into athletics, being active, youngest of 3 boys, and my parents were great in that they heavily emphasized physical fitness into the household. Whether that was through disciplinary actions, like you got to do 50 push-ups because you talk back, or just pushing us to pursue sports. And so I was always in this realm. And then what ultimately ended up happening was I found myself really loving competitive cycling, mountain bike racing specifically. And I was my 3rd year in, and I was quite good. I was excelling. I was getting scholarship offers. And then I started developing low back pain towards the tail end of my races, because at that point, my races were between 1.5 hours to 2 hours, high output the entire time. And I started getting back issues. And this is how it starts for most people, actually, is it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I started to notice, hey, towards the end of my races, I feel this. Hey, now I'm starting to feel it a little bit earlier in my races, a little bit earlier. Hey, it's starting to affect my output. And then I found myself in the middle of a race, pulling off the trail, stretching in the woods to try to just get this, this knot out of my back, this blood that just felt like my lower back was just swelled up in order to continue riding. And so at that point, my places started slipping because I was always first or second in pretty much every race, slipping, losing podiums. And so then my dad was like, all right, like this isn't going away. Let's do something about this. And I'm in high school right now, keep in mind. So this is going to connect to a lot of people that don't know the right course of action to take, which is where I was in this situation. We knew, hey, chiropractors, low back, makes sense. They're the spine go-to. So we went to a chiropractor. What I didn't realize at that time was I was going to what would now be considered a very old school, traditional chiropractor, not evidence-based. The one where you go in and the first thing to do is x-rays. Oh, your spine's crooked. This is out of whack. This is out of whack. We would call that, catastrophizing like concepts, finding problems and painting that to be your picture, turning you into a diagnosis. So then I believed, oh, something's wrong with me. My spine's crooked. And the plan was, come in 3 times a week for the indefinite future to resolve this. So I did that 3 or 4 weeks, no different. So then they're like, we need more frequency. You got to come in even more. And this is a tale of outdated care. End result, no better. My placings kept slipping. And so then basically it was like, well, whenever I train, this happens. Whenever I race, this happens. So like, what do? We were under the impression that I had tried the solution, which a lot of people find themselves in this position. You try one thing and you think you tried it. Yeah. Hey, I tried chiro. I tried PT. Those providers failed me. So I already tried those things. When in reality, you just tried one provider. But I didn't know better. So I tried one provider, which I believed would either be the solution or not. It didn't work. So I stopped racing. So then I just started training more. I just fell in love with the gym. Just had to put that energy somewhere. And then eventually I met a chiropractor that spoke very differently, looked very differently, moved very differently. And so I connected with him and I realized, oh, you're actually doing like rehab exercises and teaching people how to move and doing specific exercises for conditions. And you're teaching people how to fix themselves. Like, what? I didn't know you could do this. Went and shadowed him and was like, this is sweet. This is what I want to do. I knew I wanted to go into health to some capacity. I didn't know what. I would love to be able to fix people with my hands and with my knowledge and with exercise and help individuals in the future avoid the same situation that I found myself in. And that's what brought me to, inevitably where we are today.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's so accurate about how it's like the slow burn of becoming a real problem, and you experience these, like, I guess, flare-ups, you could call them, at different times. That's what happened to me throughout most of my 20s. It caused me to stop. I played water polo in college, and it caused me to stop playing sports. And then I would have once a year for probably 5-6 years, maybe a couple times a year, where I was in excruciating pain. I could not stand up, couldn't get out of bed. It was so painful, it would bring tears. Like, did you ever have episodes like that? Not
to that extent, but over the course of my career, I have now experienced through individuals thousands of those.
Yeah.
And I understand the experience that brings with it.
For sure. And my diagnosis when I was, I think, 20 years old was a herniated disc in my lower back. And I'm sure you deal with that all the time. You see it all the time.
Number one thing.
Yeah, number one thing. And I mean, I hear it from friends too. And somehow I've been able to I just align with your strategy so much because I've found a way to fix it for the most part over time as I've gotten older and into my 30s. And I think a lot of people haven't really figured that out. I do think a lot of it has to do with flexibility in my schedule over the years. I haven't had to, be stuck in some sort of like routine of commuting to an office in a subway or in a car. I've been mostly remote and I kind of move around at my own pace. So I think that's a major factor. And I definitely want to talk about some strategies for people to kind of put into the routine on a daily basis. But before we get into that, I'm really interested in this idea of the traditional solutions that doctors would prescribe as like an automatic solution to these problems. And it seemed like you were kind of against the mainstream in that way. You connected with that chiropractor who was a little bit different, right? And this kind of became the style that you took on. How unique was this method, going about it in a more natural way to find movement to heal these back issues as opposed to surgery or other sort of traditional kind of easy solution suggestions?
So there's multiple sectors of healthcare that are still stuck in older models, but luckily, and this is the case, majority of them are evolving out of it towards a more evidence-based approach. Certain ones are slower to get there, but the good thing is that each one has their pockets, but each one's growing a little bit more. So a majority of healthcare has been formed around what you would call the biomedical model, meaning we need a scan or a test to see the problem. Only then can it be diagnosed. And we need that problem to be gone off of the test or the image in order for you to equal healed. And that is absolutely not the case. So the scenario is like, hey, I have pain. Okay, then we have to take an x-ray. We have to take an MRI to see the problem. They do the scan, they're gonna find something, and then, hey, you're not better until that thing is off the image. That is totally outdated, completely outdated. 50% of individuals alive will have a disc bulge on an MRI and no pain at all.
Yeah.
So it only creates problems, it only scares them. You and I could have a disc bulge right now and we don't know it, and it could never cause a problem for the rest of our lives. So it's not relevant to our function. Well, the same thing to now relate more to your question, there's pockets of outdated concepts within each realm of healthcare too. So in chiropractic, really the outdated model, the not so evidence-based approach is short visits, only adjustments or spinal manipulation, relying purely on imaging for outcomes. I'm not saying this cannot help people. It still can, but it's not the biggest impact that we can make in most individuals' lives. So at that time when I got into school, it was really, it was kind of a wave of, right before I got into school, it was like, hey, soft tissue became a more popular thing within the chiro realm. Hey, chiros are not just adjusting, they're getting into soft tissue. And then when I got in, it was kind of like, hey, now we're doing more rehab. And then by the time I even got out and now, it's commonplace for if you want to be a highly effective, we'll call it a physical medicine provider, you need to have a combination of all things physical medicine. So spinal manipulation, sure. Soft tissue, rehab, movement, education. And if you look at the abundance of research, it's very, very clear the number one treatment for musculoskeletal pain is education and exercise. Education and exercise. Number one, not adjustments, not injections, not acupuncture, not soft tissue, not scraping, not hyperbaric chambers or laser therapy. Exercise and education. That is the number one treatment for neuromusculoskeletal pain. So if people can just find the right combination of those two things, then they can get better. And I was just like, yeah, like the evidence is very clear. That's what I want to pursue. So I just became a master of movement and education.
How common was that style of providing care, though, when you were getting into it? Because I'm just trying to understand, how much of a pioneer were you with this style? Because you've built such an incredible brand online that other people don't have.
Yeah. So online specifically, it's quite possible I was the first chiropractor to ever go 100% online with my practice.
Wow.
I can't make that claim because I don't know for certain, but chances are really high I was the first one to do it. So I haven't been, in this career too long, to be fair. I graduated end of 2019, but I was building my brand while in school just for the purpose of having a portfolio, just to share the information so that when I did start a brick and mortar practice, I'd have something to show. Hey, look at my page so you can get an idea for what I do. And then as I was doing that, I fell in love with the process, not the outcome, but the process of like, hey, this video got more views. Hey, this video got more likes. How can I get better at editing? How can I improve, retention? How can I get more comments? And I just fell in love with that. And so I just dedicated myself more and more to social media. Before I graduated, I'd built 100,000 followers.
Wow.
And so then when I started my practice in Tampa.
Before you even had a practice.
Before I had a practice.
Crazy.
So then when I started my practice, there were a lot of people in Tampa. They're like, oh, I'm going to come see you. And so, I had a pretty fast start from the jump. And then what ultimately led me to this was I had this online following, but I had no idea that it actually could be a business. I had no clue. I had a bunch of followers. I didn't even know that you could make money online in this. But what triggered this scenario creating an online program, the biggest online low back program in the world at this point that I'm aware of, was that because I was 100% focused on movement and education. Well, as you and the listeners are aware, if you want to follow a yoga flow, you can type that in on YouTube and follow it, and that's no big deal. If you want to have your squat form corrected, online personal training, no big deal. That makes sense. You can have anyone view you over video, analyze your movement. And I was like, wait, I'm getting people reaching out to me every day for help. And I'm looking up providers in their area. I was a referral machine.
Wow. Were you making money from that?
No.
Oh, man.
No. So what happened was I realized, wait, I'm a master of movement. I don't need to be in the same room as these people. I can just coach them through the appropriate tests for us to formulate diagnosis, and I can coach them through the movement. So it started with me DMing back and forth. Do this test. Now do this test. Now do this. Okay, now do this exercise. Visually describing it. And then I started sending videos of me doing the test to people. And then I started getting on Zoom calls with people. And then within 3 to 4 months of practice, COVID happened.
Oh, wow.
And then that really impacted my very new practice.
In a good way.
Ultimately in a good way, because
Okay.
it forced me to make a decision. So I had this online following, wasn't really making any money, but was starting to generate the concepts of, wait, I can help people online. It's just movement, right? And so the COVID happened, and I realized I was at a fork in the road. Luckily, I realized this. And I was like, okay, I can put all of my energy into trying to keep the traditional model alive. Have a building, see people in person, trading time for money. I can put all my energy into that, or I can say, you know what? I have this thing over here. I'm not sure what to do with it, but there's something there, and I'm going to figure it out. And that's what I did. I stopped all of my attention to the brick and mortar. I put all of my attention into online. You know, whatever referrals I got, whatever patients I had, I still, served them, obviously, and referrals still kept coming. But I was like, I got to figure out this online thing. And so I started doing Zoom meetings, started creating PDFs, then built a do-it-yourself program, then turned that into more of a one-on-one program, and then learned how to build a team, learned how to market it. And then within 2 years of graduating, I had a 15-person team, 100% online. And that was just crazy.
That's unbelievable. It sounds like, you were, the timing had something to do with this, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But when you started the social media stuff, when you were still in school, what was your intention at that point? Because you said you didn't know that could turn into a business, or that it could even turn into like your lead generation, right, for your business. What did you think you were doing while you're putting all that effort into learning how to optimize YouTube and Instagram and all these videos?
Yeah, and this is a great question, because what a lot of entrepreneurs out there need to realize when they start something is you can't do something purely for the result on the other side. Your mission needs to be just to provide as much value as possible in the given thing that you're passionate about. And then if you do things right, the result will be what you want it to be.
Yep.
So my intention at that time was not to make money. My intention was, hey, I'm really good at this. I'm going to start teaching people, whoever follows me, I'm just going to start teaching people how to fix themselves, because I know how to. So I just wanted to share content. I just wanted to build a portfolio. I wanted to build authority in that space. Again, for the goal of when I opened a brick and mortar, to have something to show. But it was just sharing to share, posting better to post better, growing the account just to grow, for no purpose other than providing as much value as I could. And my goal with every single video was, I want to provide the most specific, helpful guidance I can, so that it's as close to me being in the room with person, so that I can fix them wherever that in the world, to just help them solve their issue. I wasn't looking for anything from it. But because I put that degree of intentionality behind the videos, they became that good. They helped that many people, and then that grew the channel.
I totally agree with that. That's such a good point. I've heard this multiple times from people too. And I mean, like Alex Hormozy is a great example of somebody who talks about this, is putting out as much value as possible, and somehow, that's going to translate into ultimately what you want. But when I'm trying to think, what was the space like online with people who were doing content like you? That's like, first of all, what years did you really get started doing this stuff? And did you have other influencers out there who do what you do at all? Or did you just say, I'm going to apply this?
Very few. So it was around like 2017 that I was starting to follow more accounts, what I would consider in my space for educational purposes. So there are only like really a handful of accounts that with some degree of following that were sharing movement education, rehab exercises, how to fix certain things with the right stretches and exercises. And I was watching them from the standpoint of learning as a student. And then when I really committed to, hey, I want to start posting my own stuff, that was about mid 2018. And then as I started going from, once a month posting to twice a month to, 5 times a month, every week, every day, it just slowly increased. At that point in time, they were not like, this wasn't a popular space. Like there were not that many people. The accounts weren't very big. This was a new thing, I would say, to enter social media. I would say based on the accounts I know of who have been around the longest, majority of them first started posting movement education in like 2016, maybe 2015. That's probably when the inception of online healthcare, online rehab, online movement coaching really began.
You jumped on pretty quickly after that.
I was luckily in the first cohort, I would say.
First cohort, yeah. So what did you do differently though? Like maybe you can describe how did you start off, the type of content you made? What did that look like and how did that develop? You just mentioned the increase in consistency, right? But what did you do as far as the actual content itself and why do you think that stood out so much?
Yeah. So my approach, if anyone goes to look at our accounts, is of course, it's all movement. Hey, move this way, do this exercise for these different conditions. So at first, I was learning how to treat a multitude of conditions across the entire body, head to toe. So my videos were very like, hey, what did I learn to fix this week? Hey, this seminar I took, what did I just learn at this seminar? Let me post about that. So I was doing, jaw videos, headache videos, neck pain, shoulder pain, elbow pain, knee, wrist, like all these different things is what I was sharing. And the few things that evolved earlier on was the consistency. So again, once a month to eventually once every day. I fully committed, post one time every day a year before graduating. That's what helped me grow so quickly. And I've posted every single day since. So for 6 years now, I've posted every single day.
Wow.
Across all platforms. Well, not all at that time, but whatever. That's consistency.
Yeah.
So the frequency increased and then the manner in which I structured the videos changed too. So at first it was very general, like if you're dealing with this pain, do this, do this, do this. But then of course I learned appropriate hooks. How do you really hook an audience? What's the substance that's going to drive the most amount of engagement, but also the most amount of value? And then how do you end the video to drive further impact or to get them into your funnel or your lead system, whatever it might be. I learned these along the way and then combined with better and better editing. At that time I was editing all my videos and then someone was like, why are you doing all this? Find someone better for cheaper than your time. But at that time, my time wasn't worth anything.
Right.
I wasn't making any money. So I didn't realize that, So then I found, of course, full-time editors for our team now that make stuff way better than I ever could to focus on, quality production combined with consistency. But that was really it. So I guess the general summary was like, it went from very general, all things, to then very specified, meaning only low back pain, only disc herniation, only sciatica, because I identified a clear niche. So many people out there who might be, I'm not sure what to post or what about this, just start posting, just start doing it. You don't need to have a perfect plan, a perfect niche yet. Just do it, because as you do it, you'll find the niche as you go. As long as you're aware, you need to eventually identify a niche. And then once you identify a niche, everything needs to be targeted on that niche.
That's my biggest question here. So many people struggle with that point where they're identifying a specific niche and they're not sure if that's going to be it, or maybe they have an idea, they want to get started, but they're worried that it's too broad. And they say, oh, I need to have a niche, this is too much. But they're never really going to figure out what that niche is or discover it if they don't actually start at the broad level, right? Like kind of like what you did. What was it that gave you that clarity that the lower back is my niche?
Yeah. So again, posting different body part every day. My back pain videos got the most amount of views. I got the most questions about back pain, and I was just really good at treating it. I took the most amount of seminars about the spine and resolving, nerve encroachment and classic pinched nerve terminology. That's what I became very, very good at. So I was like, you know what? Those videos do the best. I get the most questions. I'm arguably the best at that. So That's it. It's just time to jump in the deep end and do it.
Just straightforward market feedback.
Yep. 100% market feedback. What's your audience telling you? You know, and it can be difficult, as you said, for some people to identify that on their own. So there's two ways that they should address this. Is one, if they want to try it out for themselves, they just need to get started and see what their market tells them. But the other alternative, and this is what I do with other chiropractors or physical therapists that want to build a business fast, is when you work with someone who has already done it, they can help you identify your niche months or years faster than you can on your own. So that's something that we help some of our clients do, that we coach their businesses, is they're like, hey, I know I need a niche, but I don't know how. And we literally do it first thing for them. We talk them through the process, help them identify a clear audience, help them develop a core offer around that, and then help them develop messaging for that, marketing for that, and help them sell that. So you can figure out on your own by market and what it's telling you, sure. Or you can just ask someone who's already done it and they can help you find the way.
Okay, that's really interesting. So I didn't realize you offered that service. So you have your core practice, your online clients, and then you're now helping people get going with practice because you've built such a successful business and online brand. Well, how do you divide up your team? You said you have about 15 people?
Well, 2 years in, I had about 15 people.
Okay.
Now we have like 22, 23, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. How are those roles divided? What do they focus on as far as your different offerings?
Yep. So our larger team is for the back pain audience. So all of our typical back pain videos, sciatica, our coaches, our marketing team for that. That's a majority of the team just because there's more volume. And the smaller portion of the team, we have about 5 people on our business coaching offer, where again, we work with chiropractors and physical therapists to help them build their brick and mortars or go 100% online if they're ready to have more freedom and not be tied to a physical location.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot with fitness coaches, right? Like a lot. Yeah. Like fitness coaches coaches.
Yes.
There's tons of that out there. I've seen it, especially where I live in San Diego. But that's really interesting. I mean, you've taken something that's worked out there in other spaces where people have been able to scale online and then brought it to your space. And you're basically the pioneer to do that successfully.
Yeah. You bring up a great point is like, as closely related to my industry without being my industry, personal training was it. Personal training went online before chiropractors and physical therapists did. But I made that connection. You know, when I first started coaching people, I was like, wait, personal trainers are now going online. You can coach exercises. Why can't I coach rehab exercises?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, just different concept. What it was having the perspective and the realization of breaking yourself out of the traditional thought. That's what it was, is realizing, hey, wait, this was a limiting belief. And you can do this a different way. And being a pioneer of that, a first to market advantage, if you will, was huge. So now the rest of the industry is realizing, especially in the last couple of years, as they've watched me grow, how'd you do this? How are you traveling, working from anywhere? How do you have this freedom? And you have a full-time practice. Yeah, because I broke the traditional model.
Yeah, especially for a practice, which people think is in person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's incredible. So how do you delegate your attention to your clients? Because you have a team. Obviously, you can't be everywhere at once. Any life coach or anyone, personal trainer who builds a massive brand online, they're going to have people to help them and to do the one-on-one consults and meetings, right? But what if there's a client out there that really wants to talk to you directly? How do you differentiate a package that gives them access to you versus people on your team?
Well, anyone who has a decent sized business will resonate with what I'm about to say. But if you want me, you're gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But what I encourage everyone to understand is, if you build a business the right way, anyone under you has gone through the appropriate training to be able to execute better than I could. Because if people want me, depending on, let's say people want me in a general sense, they're going to get a divided me. That's what they're going to get. So it's, hey, I'm the face of the company. I'm the guy who did it. And I get that. But who do you want? Do you want 20% of my attention? If you're a standard case, if you're paying a premium, then you're going to get my attention. But for people who want to be the standard case but want my attention, hey, you don't want 20% of me. You want my staff member who I personally trained, who has coached thousands of our clients so far, that you're going to get 100% of. So if you trust me, if you trust what I've shown, the free videos that have already helped you, then you're going to trust my brand and you're going to trust anyone within the brand. So it's far more effective for the consumer and it's far more effective for the business to have a good training process, good delegation, and having individuals that are masters of those individual things that they're doing, because the results will maintain throughout the process.
For sure. How about the difference of being able to scale online like you have? How many total clients do you have now versus the max you think you'd have if you didn't have an online presence and just a physical practice?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much more overhead and there's so much more complexities to brick and mortar. And obviously you're limited due to your city, due to your radius, however far people are willing to drive. So, since like the end of 2021, we've been having like 200 consultations per week.
Wow.
Like it's hard to do that if you're brick and mortar. So the impact you're able to create is greater because you have no city limits.
Yeah.
So it's, hey, what are people missing in the healthcare space specifically? They're not missing the right soft tissue approach. They're not missing, that magic acupuncture needle that I did. No, they're missing the right education and exercise. So as long as you can get that to them, it doesn't matter where you're at in the world. If you can get the right education and exercise to people, you're going to be able to teach them how to fix themselves to get out of the system. And so that's what we do. And we have the opportunity to reach people all over. So it's amazing for everybody because not everyone has access to the right care in their area.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, how do you work? Do you work with insurance at all?
No way.
Really? Okay.
No, the only way to work with insurance is if you have a physical location with medical billing codes. And yeah, it just puts restraints on everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes like HSA or things like that will apply.
Sure.
But otherwise, no, it's most of the people that come to us, they're sick of insurance.
Yeah. For
like,
sure.
hey, I get my cheap $20 copay, but then I get my cheap $20 copay visit. And I'm in this PT mill or chiro mill with these short visits and I'm not getting results. And so it's like, from that perspective, hey, you can save money to not get results or you can invest the money to get results. What's your choice?
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of the equation.
That's awesome. And you obviously have access to way more people to kind of democratize it that way with no insurance involved.
Yep, for sure. Like you get what you pay for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Majority of the time, about 99% of the time, you get what you pay for. So, cheap insurance visits, the chances are high you're going to get cheap insurance visits.
What is your actual opinion on how the health insurance system is today? Because a lot of people have very strong opinions on it. I do too. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if there is one. But I've had enough of my injuries through my my fight or jiu-jitsu career and all that, and it's just brutal how what you deal with this stuff. And you've built an incredible business in the healthcare space that doesn't involve insurance. So I feel like your opinion is extremely valid on kind of where it is today and what do you think is really wrong?
I like to be very clear that when I speak about, so I'm an authority in certain things. I'm not an authority in the complexities of insurance legislation. So I will speak to what I am confident speaking, but by no means am I an expert on worldwide healthcare systems and to be able to provide a concise response to compare all of them.
Totally fair.
But the opinion I do possess that is unique is because we work with clients all over the world, we get clients from Canada, UK, New Zealand, Australia, quote unquote, free healthcare. And we see how much free healthcare costs people.
Yeah. Yep.
We also can then contrast that with how much we pay in the US for healthcare, but how accessible it is and how effective it is. So my vantage point is mine and it will not be all encompassing, but essentially my opinion is this, is US healthcare is great because of that reason. If I want to pay a premium to get premium care today, I can do it. It's my choice. Some individuals might be frustrated by that. Hey, it costs too much here and it's ridiculous. And we have a capitalistic society and I think that's great for the most part. But there's a gray area in the middle that I'm not satisfied with.
Sure.
I run a business. Like I have no problem with doctors charging whatever they want. Like you can charge whatever you want. If your market is willing to pay for it, then that's your price. Great. But the issue is the internal inflation of like, hey, insurance companies and doctors billing insurance, they're just going to charge as much as they possibly can and try to get as much of a payout from insurance. And a lot of times the patient is stuck in the middle. So for example, we had a recent, this is crazy. We had a recent, very short visit to the ER. Everything's fine for my youngest, who at the time was like 7 months old. Okay. Not a big deal, just a scare. Everything's fine. But we went in there. We were in there for 30 minutes. No procedures were done besides vitals. That was it. Just sit and monitor. We realized whatever our suspicion wasn't an issue. It was a scare, and we left. So 30 minutes, no services consumed besides vitals. Our bill was $3,000.
Crazy.
And so we asked them for an itemized invoice. Hey, can
Right.
you break this down for us? We've been asking for an itemized invoice for 8 months.
Jeez.
And they won't do it. Sent us to collections. We're getting calls from collections people. We have a hit on our credit. And we're like, listen, we're not saying we're not going to pay it, but I don't think you actually know what we consumed
Yes.
in your hospital. Like, I don't think you actually know. We think this is a genuine error. Give us the breakdown so we can see the services you think we consumed, and then we can tell you what will actually happen. And they won't give it. So, those type of scenarios are quite frustrating, and that does highlight the monster that's become in certain ways. But at the same time, I see both ends of it. We get clients from the UK who have been waiting to get an MRI for 9 months, who have nerve pain shooting down their leg, and they're not allowed to get any services for that until they have diagnosed imaging. And they're waiting for 9 months. And so guess where they go? They go to me.
Yeah.
They go to me and they pay me to fix them. So I see both ends. So ultimately, I mean, I'm happy. If I had to pick one, I'm happy with where we're at. But every system has their problems.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good take. What about, because, some people who really get to a level of severity with these issues and they just can't wait on the healthcare system, whatever it is that they're dealing with, whatever part of it, that's holding them back. And then they'll go to things like stem cells, for example. A lot of people I know, at least, in the MMA community, they'll go down to Tijuana and go to, I'm forgetting the name of CPI. Yeah, if you're familiar, for stem cells, or, there's some other solutions, of course. We have all these peptides now that can help too. What is your thought on some of those, in comparison to, I guess, maybe the more traditional surgical routes, or just movement, if movement's not going to fix it alone?
Yeah. So here's my take on peptides, stem cells, anything alternative that's outside of education and exercise. If the goal is to avoid surgery, great, because majority of the time surgery can be avoided. In fact, 97% of disc herniations can be resolved without surgery.
Wow, that's a big stat.
Huge stat.
Wow.
2020, 280,000 people with lumbar disc herniations, this was conducted on, and 97% recover without surgery. But how many surgeries are being conducted? Way more than just 3%.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an issue, and we have proof that this is not needed. So if the intention is to try something to avoid surgery, great. Like, absolutely do that. In regards to stem cell, PRP, peptides, all these things, this needs to be viewed through the right lens. So back pain is a movement-based problem. Neuromusculoskeletal disorders are a movement-based problem. What that means is nerve, muscle, skeleton. Okay, so if I have shoulder pain, if my shoulder hurts more if I move it a certain way, that's a movement problem. If I have back pain and my back hurts more when I sit longer or lift something or move a certain way, that's a movement problem. It's triggered by movement. So anything that is not movement will not be the full solution. It can be helpful. It can be an adjunct, but it's not the full solution. So imagine a pie graph, okay? About 80% of the pie graph should be movement-focused interventions and education interventions. About 20% can be whatever else you think is going to help you. That's fine. So bringing this back to stem cell, PRP now, very popular, super massively growing industry. I know a few partners in this space who have grown great businesses, and that's awesome. But you can't go in to stem cells with a movement problem, get stem cells, and expect all of those to do the work for you if you're still doing the movement problems that got you there in the first place.
Right.
It will not work long term. If you combine the two, great, go for it. But movement cannot be optional. That has to be the standpoint of finding the solution. Otherwise, you're fighting an uphill battle.
That's an awesome philosophy. Basically, movement is what caused the problem in the first place, so therefore it has to be fixed with movement. Go back to the foundation of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so stem cells, think of it this way. It will create an environment of healing. It'll promote healing in that region. But again, if, let's say every morning I wake up and I stub my toe on my dresser, and I keep stubbing my toe on my dresser every single morning, hey, I can throw some numb cream or some tissue regeneration cream on my foot. But if I keep stubbing my toe every single morning because I'm moving the wrong way around my bed, that's only going to last so long.
Right.
So that's why people go back for more and more stem cells, just like they go back for more and more cortisone injections. Okay. That's why they go back for more surgeries.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to patch movement problems with non-movement based solutions. So that has to be a foundation of what you're doing.
Yeah, just continuous covering it up to get by, and then it comes back. What are the biggest causes of people getting bad backs, whatever it is, a disc herniation or other things, from the type of movement they do?
Repeat the question. Sorry, I was distracted because I just realized I said cortisone injections, steroid injections.
Sure.
It was the more the broad term I was attempting to use.
Yeah.
So might need to check that. But anyway,
No worries.
I was like, wait a second.
No worries. No, I'm just curious. What kind of movements are the bad causes of people resulting in back pain?
Yeah, so here's a classic one. The most common type of back pain is going to be in the category of what's called flexion intolerant lower back pain. So think about this. Whatever movement you're doing too much of will become a problem. So majority of society is a flexion-based society, meaning sitting, slouched forward. Now, I'm not talking about posture. Posture causing pain is a myth. Posture does not directly connect to pain.
Interesting.
Yes, that can be a different topic. But you and I right now, we're sitting, we're in a rounded forward position. Not a big deal in this scenario, no big deal. But majority of society, they sit in a rounded position, they drive in a rounded position, they work in a rounded position, they watch TV in a rounded position, and then they bend over and pick a lot of things off the ground in a rounded position. They're getting a lot of one direction of their spine. But how much are getting the opposite direction? How much are they moving backwards? Not often. So when we have studies that examine intradiscal pressure, which is the pressure within a disc, we see that when we bend forward or sit and bend forward, that increases pressure on the disc posteriorly, which means it pushes it backwards. And what's the most common type of disc herniation or bulge? Posterior disc bulge, pushes backwards. So this type of presentation will be someone that has spent a lot of their life in a bent forward position. That increases over time. Lack of movement combined with that, bad diet combined with that. Maybe there's psychological factors combined with that. Back pain is an experience, and there's a multitude of factors that can relate to it, not only movement, but this is a common scenario where then they'll find themselves with pain that increases whenever they bend forward to put their socks and shoes on, whenever they lift something on the ground, if they sit for long periods.
Yeah.
That's flexion intolerant, meaning your back doesn't like flexion. So if we think, okay, my back's been getting a lot of this, a lot of bending forward throughout the years, maybe if I do the opposite, I can start to reverse that process that I created. And sometimes it is that simple for majority of individuals.
Wow.
They need to incorporate more extension into their day. So simply stand up, put your hands on your hips, push your hips forward and lean back as far as you can comfortably. You're going to get some cracks and pops in the middle of your lower back if you've been sitting for a long time. Do that every few hour interval while you're working, and that's going to help undo a lot of the flexion stress you're getting. Another alternative movement is laying flat on the floor, hands under your shoulders like you're going to do a push-up. Push your chest off the ground while keeping your hips on the floor. This looks like a cobra pose like in yoga. Do that repetitively. Restore the extension that you've lost in your lower back to keep equal balance of pressure within your body. And the same thing goes for any joint. This is called the do the opposite principle. If I work all the time with my shoulders in a forward position, well, how often am I pulling my shoulder backwards? Rarely ever. So maybe I should start to restore that motion and then see if my shoulder pain dissipates. And many times it will too. So that's the most common presentation.
I love the simplified philosophy of that. It's so easy for people to understand when you put it that way. It's if you're doing too much of one thing, find a way to balance that out. Essentially, is your philosophy.
Yeah, and let's take it a different direction to make it even more digestible. If someone is fat, feels bad, deconditioned, they're not moving enough.
Mhm.
So they're moving too little. So what should they do? They should move more.
More. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's take someone who is training super hard 7 days a week with minimal recovery.
Mhm.
They're moving too much. What's the solution in that scenario? Move less. Like, it's so simple. It's whatever you're doing too much of, do a little bit more of the opposite. So I'm doing too much stagnation. I need to move more. I'm doing too much movement. I need to do less.
Mhm.
Same thing with individual joints or regions of your body.
Yeah. So what about an example? Let's take a premier athlete like LeBron James, for example, somebody who has been moving so much at such a high level for so many years. He's now in his 40s. And then there's all these publications out there about how much money he spends a year on his body, right? To keep him able to go that long and do all this recovery stuff. What are some examples of how you can offset that as opposed to a simple solution of saying you're moving too much, so move less? Does that make sense?
So you have to keep in mind that your body can adapt to the environment you place it in as well. So you or I, we're not conditioned as professional basketball players. We're not conditioned to that activity. So even though I move a lot, I'm very into fitness, I'm very into movement, I'm a very active person, I'm not adapted to that type of movement. So if I started moving the same degree as LeBron James, something would not adapt in me. I would not be able to do that immediately. If I trained for years and years and years and had adaptation to that, you can build your capacity to do different things. So the point is, what is moving too much for one person might not be too much for another, because your body is strong and resilient and it can adapt, but it needs time to adapt to the places that you force on it. So it's all about, have you had time for your body or for the individual regions to adapt to the load you're placing? If it has, then you're going to be able to sustain that, assuming you have appropriate nutrition and recovery. Okay. So for him, if he's making sure he has a appropriate food regimen, sleep regimen, and he's staying within the sweet spot of the level of training he's adapted to, that might seem like a lot to some, but he can cruise there. I bet if all of a sudden his sleep quality diminished for a period of time, his food quality diminished for a period of time, even if his activity stayed the same, something would start to give. He would start to experience pain or stiffness to some capacity. Then he would have to adjust that because the other parameters slipped with it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
If somebody is out there, they're hearing this and they've been dealing with their back pain for some time, maybe it's on and off, maybe they haven't, it hasn't been as consistent where they've gone and done something about it, but it's still a serious problem. They're thinking about, how can I get started by not having to go into some doctor office? What would you tell them to do first?
Yeah. So first, and of course, this is general advice, right? First is, whatever you're doing, don't be afraid of moving, because the wrong thing that so many people with back pain immediately do is they become fearful and they restrict all movement. They think, okay, wait, I can't go to work. I can't go to the gym. I can't do these activities. I need to basically freeze my life and now worry about what might be going on. That is the fastest way to chronic low back pain and to an unnecessary surgery. If instead you feel back pain, and it could be excruciating, I understand. You could wake up with back pain and you could go, oh my gosh, I can barely move. Take a deep breath. Back pain is super common and it's super recoverable. Pain does not equal tissue damage. Lots of pain does not mean lots of damage. They're not the same thing. There's many things that can attribute to your pain. So don't panic. Know that you're going to be okay. You're in a temporary episode and you will find your way out of it. Know that first. Be confident in continuing your normal everyday activities to the degree that you can comfortably. I'm not telling you to force pain or force movement, but as much of your normal daily activities as you can do, maintain normal activities. Do not follow fear avoidance behaviors, meaning because I have pain, I'm afraid of doing this, so I'm going to restrict my life now. Do not do that. Do not run straight to imaging to get your official medical diagnosis. Don't do that, because if you're in a fearful state, again, and you go get an MRI, no matter who you are, there's a 50% chance that you have a disc bulge on your MRI. If that goes through the process of a non-informed medical provider or hospital system, whatever, you're getting shuttled to injections and surgery same week. So you don't want to find yourself in that situation because you've gone down the wrong path.
It's like fear mongering.
For sure. And I'm not going to imply that it is intentional all the time. Sometimes it's just ignorance, and that's how people were trained.
Sure.
But unfortunately, this is a very common scenario. So no fast imaging, no fear. Keep moving to the degree that you can. Know that you're going to be okay. Your body's strong and adaptable. And give yourself a week or two of that, not freaking out, and see where you're at. Many times within 2 weeks, these can self-resolve.
Wow.
Yeah. And listen, I don't make money from telling anybody this.
Right.
You know, if after 2 weeks, symptoms are still there or progressing, or, you know, you want an additional look, okay, well then seek care. And know that you should be seeking education and exercise first.
Right.
And you do not need to run to drugs, injections, or surgery.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the time, unless clinically indicated. But
Sure,
that's
sure.
very, very rare. It's super rare. Like clinical indication for surgery immediately after an incident is super low. You need rapidly progressive neurological or motor deficits, which means, oh, numbness and tingling is rapidly spreading in my limbs, or weakness in my muscle, like, oh, I can barely lift my foot. That's rapidly increasing. These are very rare circumstances.
Yeah.
They're not common at all. But people with common back pain, yeah, I slept wrong, but I'm afraid. So because of the stories that I've heard, because of my education on this, they don't even realize, well, guess what? You've been sleeping really bad for the last week. You have a lot of work stress. You just got in a fight with your spouse. So you went to the gym and crushed yourself when your recovery is really low and you woke up with a flared up back. They don't know that. They wake up with fear, go right to an imaging center, get an MRI. They see a disc bulge. Now they have a surgery consult within 3 to 4 days and they're scheduled for surgery. When in reality, they chill for 2 weeks and they're going to be fine.
Yeah. God, Grant, that's such good advice. One thing that stands out that you've said is this, something I'm big on is the mind to body connection. And you talk about the emotional factor that could contribute to back pain, right? How do you describe that? How does that work?
Yeah, well, you have to describe it delicately, because what people will often mistake me saying at this point is, you're saying it's in my head. I'm going to combat that a little bit. I'm not saying that, but also that's absolutely true. All pain is real, but all pain is made in the brain. It's how your brain is interpreting threat. It's the alarm system. So here's a great story that could be much longer, but I'm going to tell it very, very fast. There's this client in Brazil, Gabriela, disc herniation, was told she needed surgery. Joins our program, goes from severe low back pain, nerve pain shooting down to her foot, completely pain-free in 4 weeks. Completely pain-free. So we're cruising through the program. We're getting into strength stuff. We're in a bulletproofing phase. She's doing amazing. All of a sudden, we don't hear anything for 3 or 4 days. Then we get a message. All my pain is back. Something happened. I must have re-injured myself. I think I need the surgery after all. And we're thinking, wait a second. This does not follow. This does not follow. So we're messaging her. Did you do anything different? No. Did you do any exercises outside of this? No. Did you fall? No. Okay, well then nothing happened. So there's something missing here. We get on a call with her. We clarify those things again. You didn't fall. You didn't do a weird movement. You didn't go off plan. You didn't do anything you haven't done before. No. Okay, well, Gabriela, you did not re-injure yourself then, because you just described nothing happened. So what else has been going on in your life? Oh, just this. Has anything out of the ordinary happened? No, nothing out of the ordinary. And then we ask the question, has anything, potentially scary recently happened to any friends or family? Breaks down crying. Her best friend died 3 days ago. Best friend dies next day, all of her pain is back. So we educated her, said, hey, your body is using a recent injury to process your emotion right now. That's what this is. She had the realization. She realized, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, this is how I'm coping. Within 24 hours, again, 100% of her pain had returned. Within 24 hours after we had the discussion, 100% of her pain gone.
Wow. That is so real.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people can relate to that and they don't even know it.
They don't know it. And so that's a very extreme example. So you can have smaller doses of this. Think about workplace stress, interpersonal relationship stress.
Yes.
There's a lot of different traumas and experiences that people are experiencing even from childhood that might be buried. Like there's a lot of various things that can sometimes be uncovered throughout this process. So yes, back pain is a movement-based issue and needs a movement-based solution, but pain, any type of pain, is an experience. And that's affected by a multitude of things. It's multifactorial. You might have heard the biopsychosocial model. So social influences, psychological influences, and then biology, tissue damage, anything like that. But these things need to absolutely be considered in the plan, because it's not a matter of if anyone has a mental component of their pain. Everybody does. It's how much of their pain is connected to a mental component. And that needs to be addressed and managed to the degree that it needs to.
Yes. That's like maybe the most important point, I think, in our conversation.
It's huge. Mindset is everything. Absolutely. Someone comes into our plan, if they believe they're broken, if they believe they can't get better, if they are stuck in their head and their identity has now merged with their pain, it doesn't matter what plan we give them, it's not working.
Yeah.
And they're searching and searching and searching and searching with what they realize is within. They need to work on their mind. Their mind is the key to unlocking their pain.
Yes.
And again, that's not everybody, but I'm using those scenarios where it is the thing. It is the thing that would get them pain-free is working on their mindset and how they understand pain, how their body interprets pain, how their nervous system is wired to pain. That needs to be their primary treatment plan. And they don't know it because they're looking for what's the fix. And even in my world, hey, what's the exercise? What's the exercise that's going to fix me?
Yep.
And I'm the exercise guy, but I'd say, hey, we need to get your mind off of looking for that special exercise.
Right.
Like it's not waiting for you. We need to work on other things.
Yes.
And that can be a difficult conversation.
That's huge. I love that you said that, because I've experienced this personally so many times, and so many people out there are like that. They're stubborn. They think, oh, well, this is my physical health, so therefore it's a physical solution. Well, you really do need to go from the inside out, from an emotional standpoint, from a mental standpoint, and that could change things overnight, just like the story you told about this girl in Brazil.
Absolutely. It's huge. Realistically, I mean, I would say in almost any chronic pain scenario, and again, I'm the movement guy, majority of people, if I had to pick one direction, yes, I'd say, hey, if everyone moves more, rates of pain would reduce, and that's true. But the mind is so strong. The mind can overcome and overcompensate for these deficits. So it's like a majority of chronic back pain scenarios, if I had to pick one thing for someone to work on, it would more often probably be their mind.
That's huge.
It's a huge component to it. Super, super big.
Wow. Man, that's awesome. I'm going to end it with a few kind of quick business questions that I like to ask everyone at the end. But first off, what would you say has been the biggest challenge as you've scaled this business online?
So I think the growth of any business, the CEO is always the bottleneck, and you overcoming that and realizing that you have limiting beliefs within yourself and overcoming those layers is always the biggest thing. So throughout various ranges of income and growth, you run into new ceilings, but sometimes you don't know that a ceiling's there, and you don't know the name of the ceiling. You don't know how it looks. You don't know the texture. So you hire coaches, you hire mentors to help you realize what the name of that ceiling is. And so many times it's you. It's the way you think. It's the way you process decisions about your business. It's making emotional decisions about your business when you shouldn't be. It almost always comes back to limiting beliefs and just the way that you think about business. That is it.
I love it. It's totally related to what we just talked about.
Yeah. Mindset, dude.
That's awesome. Okay. How about AI? How are you using AI in your business today? Just a few different examples, maybe.
Yeah. For us, the biggest thing we're using AI for so far, and I'm not an AI guru, is we're actually creating AI bots specifically to have conversations about back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, the type of conditions we work with, so that the docs and myself, the channels we're growing, when people are reaching out and messaging the channels, we've been able to train AI bots to have high level, doctorate level conversations about what might be going on with that individual to help basically triage them and then get them to the right place, as well as video editing resources. So, and of course, speeding things up, using prompts to speed things up. So if we're doing, email campaigns or text blast campaigns for different things, we're not 100% relying on AI to write it for us, because that's, in my opinion, that's how dumb people get dumber, is they just let something do all of it for them.
Yeah.
We still screen it ourselves for accuracy and quality, as anyone should,
Mhm.
but it can speed up a lot of the systems that we're doing. So those are the main pieces.
Sure. Nice. One of my signature questions is, what's an entrepreneurial life hack that goes against the mainstream belief that you would recommend? It could be something specific or something broad.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind might be different than what you're intending, but I think an entrepreneurial life hack that goes against the norm is, I think entrepreneurs need to have kids younger than they are.
Oh, wow. That's a new one.
Yeah. And here's why. I was having this conversation the other day with my filmer who's helping me build a personal brand. And entrepreneurs, we love to work. Our business is our baby. And even still, I got 3 young kids. My oldest just turned 5. I just want to work all day. I love working. Like, if I had no limits, oh my gosh, I'd be working, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Like, that's all I want to do. And so when the conversation of kids came in, this was my first year after graduating. I'm just starting a business, just going. My wife's asking about starting to have kids. And we were married prior to school. So we were already married for like 4 years before this. But like, man, I'm just starting my career. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm just starting this business. Like, I want to focus on this. Like, kids, like, already. And she pushed me to be like, listen, this is your priority now, but what's your priority going to be in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? What are you going to be happy about what you built? Are you going to be happy that you have an extra 30, 40 million in the bank? Are you going to be happy with the amount you have, but that you have a family that you were able to raise the right way at the right age, and this wasn't a second priority? And so she kind of forced me in a good way to just accept and be like, all right, like, you want to be a mom? That's your purpose. That's your mission. I need to give that to you. And I just need to do it. I need to get over myself, and I just need to do it. And I didn't feel ready. I didn't even necessarily want to, but I'm so happy that I did at the age that I did, because I'm 31 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think I'm still young in my career, but I have so many entrepreneur friends who think the same way that I did, but they don't have an external influence to advise them otherwise. So they're thinking, hey, not ready yet. I want to build business more. When the business is bigger, when I'm further down the road, another year. And what they don't realize is, like, dude, there's a limit on time, especially for females. There's a biological limit when you're not gonna be able to have kids anymore. So it's like, dude, you're kicking this can down the road because your business is the number one focus. And I know exactly how that feels. But what you're forgetting is right now, that's your number one value. But if you keep that number one value present right now, 20, 30 years from now, that is not going to be your number one value. That's not going to be your number one. And if you are substituting that for everything else at this moment, dude, you could find yourself in a really bad position where you don't have a family 20 years from now. And then you realize, I lost the opportunity. I blew it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be a freaking grandpa when I'm having my first few kids. And people think, oh, I'll wait till my, early 30s. I'll wait till late 30s. Like, dude, that's old.
Yeah.
It's too old to be having kids. And it's because I think a lot of the way that society has influenced our perception on when you should have kids and more traditional roles. But not that long ago, everyone was having kids early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, not that long ago.
Yeah. Such an interesting take. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
So I think that's a good push. I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to consider is like, listen, and I know I'm kind of being redundant here, but this is important to me, is like, even today, like, all I want to do is work. Like, there's times where my kids, just get away from me, but I know that is an investment that I made earlier that I'm going to be really, really happy I made when I'm towards the end of my career, when my business is not as important, when work isn't as important, and I have something to hand it to. Because if you don't have a legacy to pass this on to, guess what? You made 3 times as much maybe as you would have if you had kids, but who's that going to when you die?
Yep.
Charity? What was it for?
True.
So building something to hand over and building something that is more impactful, like, have kids younger. Don't make that a second priority.
Well said, man. I love that. In an effort for me to grow this show, I ask every guest after who's somebody you recommend I have on the show from your network. we got introduced by David Meltzer, who was one of my best guests yet. Is there anyone that you would recommend? I have somebody who's built a business and has a background in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I would want to do is I'll connect with you more off the show, but I
That
want to know
works.
what is your ideal guest?
Sure.
And then I have plenty of networks to send your way, and I would love to help you do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
mission.
Thank you. Grant, such a cool conversation, man. I love what you're doing. This is, like I said at the beginning, this has been a personal journey of mine and of many others I know, and so many people don't know how to deal with it. And you've created such a platform online for people to access it in such an easier way than ever before. And you've been a pioneer to get the biggest reach in that sense, to help people heal their back pain. So huge props to you for what you've built. And I love your philosophy around it of finding these natural ways to fix their problems and not rely on the traditional system. So thank you for what you're doing, Grant, and thanks for being on Built for Legacy. It's awesome to meet you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me for this episode of Built for Legacy with Chris Nichols. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube and follow on Apple and Spotify. And on Instagram, follow at Nichols and Dimes and at Built for Legacy Podcast. And please like or comment on any of the videos you come across. Would love to hear your feedback so I can continue to innovate and grow the podcast. Thank you for the support, and we'll see you next time.